We do talk about this issue of abortion rights as some people discuss it anyway as a women's issue, but Doug, we see it as a motivating factor for men and women when they're coming out.
It was the key plank in the campaign, and going into this election day, which could also still be election days, we had a situation where abortion was really tied with economy on the list of voters' minds, especially among Harris supporters. It really moved right up there. It was always, near the top. What's interesting here is that, baked in the hard narrative of this campaign, and even, whether you're a Trump supporter or Harris supporter, you accepted the fact that you could not simply ignore the abortion issue. Donald Trump was seen by a lot as blowing hot and cold on the issue, not really giving a sense of exactly where he stood, especially there had been a referendum in Florida. No one knew whether he was going to back it, oppose it. And so he's blown with the wind here, and perhaps it's worked to his advantage because he's been able to come across as whatever you want to read into him on the abortion issue. But what's interesting here is we showed this earlier in the evening. We showed, the graphic that the states in America, since the Dobbs decision, we often say, abortion's banned in about 13, 14 states, but the actual, when you flesh it out, the reality is that there have been either bans or restrictions put in place in 21 states with varying degrees of bans ranging, you can see it there, ranging from the deep red, which is a full ban, which is really no abortion except in emergency cases of rape, incest, or a threat to the life of the mother. 6 weeks, which is a point at which it's effectively a total abortion ban because most women at 6 weeks still do not know that they are pregnant. 12 weeks, 15, 18 weeks, you could say that those are more permissive, but they are still abortion bans, and they're not near viability there. So it's stunning, the disconnect, if you will, given the fact that both campaigns acknowledged that this had been an issue, and in the 2022 midterms, the Republicans took a real hit, and it was seen as a hit really wired to this abortion issue. So given that, it will be interesting to see however this election turns out, this is explained or not explained.
Yeah, on that note, abortion a major issue for many people in the country, as we've been discussing, so much that even in places where it was not a ballot measure, it determined how some people voted, like here in North Carolina.
I voted for Donald Trump, and the main reason I voted for Donald Trump is because of my faith and my belief that abortion is wrong. I had a personal experience with a child that we almost had to abort, and my Lord and Savior saved him. The second main issue is the open border. I believe in immigration, but I believe it should be done legally.
The rhetoric that Trump does is not what I'm looking forward to and stuff like that. I think a lot has changed since he's run for president.
I did my research, so, it's not who I'm supporting, it's just more so who's going to make a change and make a difference for our country.
There are things he says that I don't agree with, but the policies and where he wants this country to go line with what I line up with.
You can see that on a lot of people's minds there. Now, since the Supreme Court overturned the national right to abortion 2 years ago, returning that regulation to state legislatures, activists have really been pushing to get abortion measures on ballots across the country. It's been the case in several states this election. Let's take a closer look with Florence Villamino.
That's right. Electors in 10 states have been asked to decide how their state will regulate abortion. You can see it here on the map. These states in orange. So in alphabetical order, we're talking about Arizona, Colorado, Florida, Maryland, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New York, and South Dakota. Now, some of those results have come in. Some we're still waiting for. What's interesting is each particular state had a different measure up for vote, but a lot of them were aimed at enshrining the right to an abortion until fetal viability, which is the state at which a fetus can survive outside of the uterus. It's typically around 24 weeks. So, as I said, one of those initiatives has failed in South Dakota. 3 have gone through. One we're still waiting for is Arizona. Now, Arizona was the typical example of how states were left in limbo with the end of Roe v. Wade. In fact, the state Supreme Court in Arizona initially brought back a law from 1864 that criminalized abortion, making no exception for rape or incest. And the governor of Arizona, the Democratic governor, Katie Hobbs, ended up overturning that 160-year law. And now currently in Arizona, abortion is legal until 15 weeks of pregnancy, but the proposed measure on the ballot on Election Day wants to enshrine the right to an abortion until fetal viability.
Yeah, and Flo, you've also been looking closely at Florida. It's in the spotlight because of its abortion laws. Tell us more.
That's right. Well, we've been talking about how an initiative there, the abortion rights measure, has failed. Now, Florida really was in the spotlight after the governor, Ron DeSantis, signed into law the so-called Heartbeat Protection Act, which criminalizes abortion once a heartbeat is detected, so around 6 weeks of gestation, making it nearly impossible for women to have an abortion in Florida. A lot of women just don't know they're pregnant at 6 weeks. So it had been back on the ballot thanks to a citizens-led initiative. It was called Amendment 4. They wanted to protect the right, preserve the right to an abortion until fetal viability. It needed a supermajority, 60%, but it didn't get it.
And Flo, Nebraska, meanwhile, is unique in this election cycle. It's the only state that has 2 abortion measures on the ballot this year.
That's right. It has one for abortion and one against abortion. Those results are coming in. It seems like it's slightly leaning towards the pro-choice measure in Nebraska. And let's also talk about New York. New York is interesting because it's often been seen as a sanctuary for reproductive rights, and there was a measure on the ballot there not to legalize abortion in New York. It is legal until 24 weeks of pregnancy, but essentially to bar discrimination against people who have abortions. And so that has gone through, that has been accepted in New York, despite vague wording. The measure on the ballot didn't actually mention abortion. It talked about pregnancy and pregnancy outcomes. So those are the results that are coming in. But as I said, they're trickling in, and we'll give them to you as we get those final results on those measures.
All right, Flo Villamino, thank you so much for that update over there on our magic board.
Yeah.